The cold light of the chamber pierced through the fog of unconsciousness. Slowly he opened his eyes, blinking against the brightness. His mind felt heavy, as if weighed down by centuries, yet there was a faint spark of awareness. He tried to move, but his body ached in ways he had never known. The last thing he remembered was sleep, a deep, endless sleep that was supposed to last only a few hours. Now waking up, he felt as though the world itself had changed. The room around him was unlike anything he remembered. Smooth metal walls stretched far above, glowing faintly with a blue light. Panels lined the walls, some flickering, some completely dark. Machines hummed softly, as though keeping themselves alive without care or guidance. He rose slowly, testing his legs, which shook but held firm. His hands touched the control panels, dust covering every surface, hinting at years, maybe centuries of neglect. "Where am I?" he whispered. His voice echoed slightly, the emptiness of the chamber magnifying every word. He stepped forward, careful not to trip on the scattered debris. A strange feeling pressed on his chest, an emptiness, a silence that was too deep, too absolute. He remembered the city outside, bustling and alive, full of voices, full of people. But now, only silence remained. He reached a large window that overlooked what had once been a city. Or so he thought. Nature had taken over. Buildings, tall and proud, were cracked and crumbling, their steel skeletons exposed. Trees had grown through the roads, their roots lifting concrete like toys. Grass and vines stretched across the ruins, covering everything in green. Birds circled in the sky, unafraid, as if they owned this place now. It was breathtaking, beautiful in a way, but lonely. So very lonely. The thought hit him like a sudden gust of wind. Where are the people? Not a single soul walked the streets. No sounds of traffic, no laughter, no voices, no dogs barking. Even the wind seemed cautious, whispering softly around the broken buildings. His mind raced, trying to recall what had happened. Had humanity disappeared? Or was it hiding somewhere far away? He stepped out of the building, the air cool against his skin. Every step echoed on the empty streets. Cars, long rusted and abandoned, leaned at odd angles. Storefronts stood frozen in time, merchandise still in place as if people had left suddenly, mid-motion. The smell of nature reclaiming the city, a mixture of earth, rain, and decay, filled his nose. It was strange, almost welcoming, yet haunting. As he wandered, he noticed signs of the past, a child's toy lying near a broken doorway, a newspaper with faded words that made no sense, a billboard advertising things long gone. Each discovery tightened the knot of confusion and fear in his chest. How could a city so alive become completely empty? How could humanity vanish without a trace? Hours passed as he moved through the streets, searching, hoping, fearing. The sun moved slowly overhead, casting long shadows from the broken skyscrapers. He found a library, its doors half open, dust swirling as he stepped inside. Books lay scattered on the floor, some open, some closed. Words he could barely recognize spoke of a world long gone. Yet amidst the decay, a sense of hope lingered. A possibility that answers existed somewhere, hidden in the ruins. He explored further and found a strange device in the library, partially buried under rubble. Its surface shimmered faintly, a screen flickering to life as he touched it. Symbols he did not understand danced before him. Then a voice, calm, synthetic, almost gentle, spoke from the device. Awakened. Subject active. Time elapsed. 15,000 years. He stumbled back, his mind struggling to grasp the meaning. 15,000 years? The world outside was unrecognizable, yet here he stood, alive. How could he have slept for so long? What had happened to humanity in that time? Questions tumbled through his mind like stones down a hill. The silence outside suddenly felt heavier, more oppressive. Determined to find answers, he began moving toward the city's center. The streets seemed to guide him, as if the city itself remembered the steps of those long gone. Along the way, he found more signs. Machines still functioning, faint traces of energy pulsing through the ruins, doors that opened as he approached. It was as if the city had adapted in his absence, alive in its own strange way, waiting for someone to return. By nightfall, he reached what had once been a grand square. The remains of statues, fountains, and monuments stood as monuments to humanity's past. Stars sparkled above, reflected in the broken glass of buildings. He sat on a cracked bench, exhaustion weighing on him. For the first time, he allowed himself to wonder, was he truly alone? Could anyone or anything still exist in this world? The wind whispered through the ruins, carrying with it a promise and a warning. The world had moved on, and he had awoken in the middle of its silent evolution. One thing was certain: survival would require courage, curiosity, and determination. Answers lay somewhere, waiting to be discovered, and he would find them no matter how long it took. As he closed his eyes for a brief rest, he felt the weight of time pressing down, but also a spark of hope. Humanity may have vanished, but the story was not yet finished. And somewhere, deep in the shadows of the city, secrets awaited him, secrets that could change everything he thought he knew. Morning came slowly, painting the ruins with soft golden light. The man awoke on the cracked bench, muscles stiff but mind sharper than before. The silence of the city seemed less heavy now, almost watchful. He rose, brushing off dust from his clothes, and set out once more. Today he would look deeper, search further. He could not ignore the questions that burned inside him. Humanity had vanished, but why? And where could the answers be hiding? He moved cautiously through streets that had once thrived with life. Each step revealed more of the strange harmony between decay and growth. Trees pushed through broken concrete, their roots curling around rusted vehicles. Animals, small, cautious, scurried in and out of shadows, watching him but never approaching. It was as if the world had learned to live without humans, quietly adapting in their absence. Soon, he found a building taller and more intact than the others. Its doors, though heavy and metallic, creaked open easily as if inviting him inside. Inside, the air smelled of cold metal and dust. The place seemed familiar, a museum of the old world. Screens flickered faintly, some showing images that had been frozen in time. People smiling, machines humming, cities alive. He approached one of the screens, which still worked. With a cautious touch, he activated it. Words and images flashed across the surface. Records of experiments, maps of cities, and diagrams of machines designed to sustain life. Among the data, he noticed something strange, a series of coordinates leading underground far beneath the city. He frowned, realizing that someone had hidden something, or perhaps left instructions for someone to find. Curiosity drove him forward. He followed the signs, winding through empty streets and fallen bridges, until he reached a hidden entrance. It was small, almost invisible, partially covered by vines and debris. He knelt, clearing the plants, and revealed a metallic hatch. It was heavy, but he managed to push it open, revealing a staircase descending into darkness. Torchlight, or the faint glow of his own hand, illuminated the steps as he went down. The air grew cooler, heavier, filled with the scent of metal and stone. The tunnel walls were lined with pipes and wires, remnants of some advanced system long abandoned. He felt both excitement and unease. Every step took him deeper into a part of the city that had been hidden for millennia. Finally, he reached a chamber. It was large, circular, and filled with machines that hummed faintly, still alive despite the years. Screens displayed strange symbols and charts moving slowly, as though waiting for someone to understand them. In the center of the room stood a pedestal with a small glowing cube. It pulsed gently like a heartbeat. He approached it carefully, feeling a mixture of awe and fear. As he touched the cube, a voice, mechanical but soft, spoke. Warning, access to records granted. Human preservation data enclosed. The man froze. Human preservation? Could it mean survival? He glanced around, noticing a series of terminals connected to the cube. One by one, he activated them. Holographic images flickered to life, showing humans in strange suits, working in laboratories and cities far away. Some humans appeared to be preparing for something, building devices and gathering resources. Others were recording messages, warnings, and plans for a time that had yet to come. He realized that humanity had been planning for survival long before their disappearance. But why had they vanished? The records hinted at danger, an event that threatened the world itself. Cities had been evacuated, populations moved, perhaps underground or far away. The technology was sophisticated, beyond anything he had seen before. Humans had tried to leave a legacy, a path for anyone who came after, even if it took thousands of years to awaken. Suddenly, he noticed movement in the shadows, a faint rustle, barely perceptible. He froze, listening. Nothing. Then the hairs on his neck stood on end as he saw a figure, small, quick, and almost invisible, dart past the edge of the chamber. His heart raced. Was he not alone down here? Or had the city developed guardians, machines, or creatures left behind to protect these secrets? He turned back to the cube, hoping to find more information. A message appeared, addressed directly to him. Awakened one. The world has changed. What remains of humanity is hidden. Seek the truth carefully. Some answers are safe. Others are dangerous. The warning made him pause. The thrill of discovery mixed with fear. Whoever, or whatever, had left this message had known he would come. And that realization made him understand that his journey had just begun. Determined, he explored the chamber further. Among the machines, he found small data pods, each containing stories of human courage, inventions, and failures. He read about cities built beneath the earth, floating habitats and colonies on distant planets. Humans had tried to survive by leaving the planet, adapting to new worlds. But the records ended abruptly, leaving gaps, mysteries yet unsolved. Hours passed, and the man grew both tired and exhilarated. He realized that the city above, beautiful and empty, was only a surface layer. The real story lay hidden beneath, in tunnels and chambers, in machines and messages left behind. Humanity had not truly vanished. They had transformed, evolved, and moved beyond the visible world. As he prepared to leave the underground chamber, a sudden tremor shook the floor. Dust fell from the ceiling, and a low hum resonated through the walls. The machines flickered violently, as though reacting to something unseen. He stumbled back, gripping a pipe for support. The city, silent and calm above, seemed alive below. Something stirred, something old, powerful, and unknown. He knew he could not turn back now. The tremor was a warning, perhaps even an invitation. The secrets of humanity, the reasons for their disappearance, and the fate of the world were all waiting for him. And deep inside, he felt a spark of determination. He would not leave until he understood everything. Ascending the staircase back to the surface, he paused at the top. The city stretched before him, bathed in evening light, shadows lengthening across empty streets. He looked at the horizon, the ruins both frightening and magnificent. Somewhere out there, hidden from view, lay the answers, and he would find them, no matter what it took. As night fell, he set up a small camp in the remains of an old plaza. Stars twinkled above, distant and cold, yet full of promise. He lay on a bed of dust and broken tiles, thinking of what he had seen, of the paths ahead, and of the secrets waiting beneath the earth. Sleep came slowly, but when it did, it brought visions, flashes of the past, memories of humanity, and faint glimpses of what might still exist in the hidden corners of the world. He awoke with a new resolve. The city above was only the beginning. The true journey lay beneath, and he was ready to follow it into the unknown. Humanity had vanished, or so it seemed, but he would uncover their story piece by piece. The night whispered around him, carrying both danger and hope. And with each breath he felt the pulse of the world, silent, mysterious, and alive. The man stepped carefully into the narrow tunnel that led beneath the city. The air grew cooler, heavier, and carried the scent of metal and stone. Each step echoed softly, mingling with distant hums that seemed almost alive. His mind raced with questions. Had humanity left something behind? Were they really gone, or had they survived in secret? He followed the dim glow from small panels along the walls, revealing a maze of corridors, pipes, and chambers. Strange markings covered some surfaces, symbols he did not understand. They pulsed faintly as if reacting to his presence. He touched one lightly, and it shimmered, giving a brief view of a diagram. Humans in strange suits, strange machines, and tunnels stretching far beyond what he could see. A soft noise echoed ahead. He froze, listening carefully. Footsteps, or a machine? The tunnel was too silent to tell. Then he saw a flicker of movement in the shadows, a shadow that moved faster than a human should. His heart beat rapidly, but curiosity pushed him forward. He could not turn back now. Finally, he entered a vast chamber. It was enormous, circular, filled with strange, softly glowing machines. Some appeared dormant, while others hummed with life. The center of the room held a large, cylindrical device, its surface covered in lights and symbols. He approached cautiously. The moment he touched it, the cylinder pulsed and a holographic map appeared above it. The map showed cities, planets, and networks of tunnels underground. Lines of light connected them, As if illustrating travel or communication paths, a voice spoke, calm and artificial. "Welcome, Awakened. You have reached the archives of humanity's preservation project. Knowledge is contained herein." The man stared in awe. The voice, the machines, the maps. It was more than he could have imagined. Humanity had planned. They had thought about survival long before they vanished, and somehow they had left guidance for him, or for anyone who might come after. He examined the devices further. Small pods along the walls contained fragments of human history, personal logs, scientific records, and notes about experiments. As he touched each pod, holograms of people appeared: scientists, engineers, explorers. They spoke, moved, and worked, frozen in time, but preserved by technology. He watched them rebuild cities underground, launch ships into space, and record messages for the future. A chill ran down his spine. Humans had not disappeared by accident. They had left the surface world intentionally, choosing survival over staying behind. Some had gone to other planets. Others had built protective colonies underground. Their messages hinted at dangers, natural disasters, environmental collapse, and threats that could not be controlled. Humanity had planned carefully, leaving pieces of knowledge for anyone who might need them. As he explored deeper into the chamber, he noticed a smaller hidden corridor. Unlike the main chamber, it was dark and narrow, the walls covered in dust. A faint blue glow came from the end. Driven by curiosity, he moved toward it. When he reached the source, he found a console with a single word glowing above it: "Warnings." He activated the console, and holographic recordings played. Scientists spoke urgently about dangers humanity had faced: storms of energy from the sun, toxic air, and strange creatures that had adapted to a human-free world. Some recordings showed humans preparing defenses and escape routes. Others suggested experiments to preserve life itself. One message stood out: "Do not trust all that remains. Some things awaken when humans are gone. Beware." A shiver ran down his spine. Something beneath the city, something old and unknown, might still be active. He felt the pulse of the underground, as if the very tunnels were alive, watching him, waiting. He realized that while humanity had vanished, their world had not become empty. It had changed, adapted, and evolved in ways he could not yet understand. Determined, he pressed on. The tunnels led him to another chamber, smaller than the last, but filled with strange devices. Lights flickered, and a soft hum resonated from a central core. He noticed movement at the edge of the room, a creature small and quick with glowing eyes. It stared at him without fear. He froze, unsure if it was friend or foe. The creature then darted away, disappearing into another corridor. The encounter left him uneasy. Perhaps the warnings had been true. The world had continued without humans, but life had not stopped. It had adapted, creating beings or machines that thrived in the absence of humanity. He had to be careful. Each step could lead to discovery or danger. He returned to the main chamber, thinking about what he had learned. Humanity had vanished from the surface, but their legacy remained underground. The cities, the machines, the messages, they were all part of a plan, a story that had waited thousands of years for someone to uncover. He understood now that he was not just a survivor. He was an explorer, chosen by circumstance to follow the trail of the vanished world. As he prepared to leave the chamber, he noticed another series of symbols glowing faintly along a wall. They seemed to form a pattern, leading toward another tunnel. He traced the symbols with his fingers, realizing they were guiding him. Perhaps humanity had left more secrets, more instructions. Perhaps the answers to their disappearance and survival lay further ahead. He followed the path, the tunnel winding deeper beneath the city. The air grew warmer, the hum of machines stronger. He felt the weight of centuries pressing on him, but also a spark of hope. Somewhere ahead lay the truth, about humanity, about the world, and about what he was meant to discover. Finally, he reached another chamber. Unlike the others, this one was alive with motion. Machines moved, lights pulsed, and strange shapes could be seen in the shadows. He felt a strange energy in the air, as if the room itself was aware of him. In the center, a pedestal held a cube, larger than the one he had seen before. It glowed softly, radiating warmth. He approached carefully, placing his hands on the cube. Information flooded his mind, holograms of people, machines, and cities. He saw humanity leaving the surface, building colonies and preparing for survival in other worlds. He realized that the world he had awakened to was only the beginning. There was more, much more, waiting to be discovered. Suddenly, a tremor shook the floor. Dust fell from the ceiling and machines flickered violently. The hum of the chamber grew louder, almost like a warning. He stepped back, watching as shadows moved across the walls. Something stirred, something ancient, something that had waited patiently for humans to leave. He knew now that he could not turn back. The secrets of the vanished world, the fate of humanity, and the dangers hidden beneath the surface were all ahead. He had awakened in a world that had changed, a world that had survived without humans, and a world that held mysteries older than he could imagine. With a deep breath, he moved forward, ready to uncover the truth. The underground city, the machines, the warnings, they were all pieces of a puzzle waiting to be solved. And he was the one who would solve it. Above, the surface remained silent and still, but beneath the ruins the world pulsed with life, waiting for the awakened to discover what had been hidden for 15,000 years. The man took a deep breath, his hands still tingling from the glow of the cube. Whatever lay ahead, it was clear the underground world was alive. Machines moved with purpose. Lights pulsed in rhythm, and the air carried a soft hum as if the tunnels themselves were breathing. He felt both fear and awe. This place was not just a storage of knowledge, it was a living testament to humanity's past. He followed the tunnel deeper, guided by faint lights embedded in the walls. The corridors narrowed, winding like veins through the earth. Dust hung in the air, catching the glow and forming tiny floating constellations around him. As he walked, he noticed symbols etched into the walls, similar to those he had seen in earlier chambers. They formed a pattern almost like a language, urging him onward. Finally, the tunnel opened into a vast chamber. It was unlike anything he had seen before. Towers of machines stretched to the ceiling, connected by cables and glowing conduits. Panels blinked with data he could not yet comprehend. At the center of the room was a platform, and upon it rested what appeared to be a control hub, surrounded by smaller devices humming with energy. He approached cautiously. The hub pulsed softly as if recognizing him. A holographic map unfolded in front of him, displaying the surface world and the underground network. Dots moved along the map, some bright, some fading, showing paths, locations, and structures. The man's heart raced. This was more than a map. It was a blueprint of humanity's survival. As he studied the display, a new message appeared, this one more urgent than the previous ones. Awakened one. Proceed with caution. What you seek is protected. Not all that remains is safe, he shivered. The words reminded him of the creature he had glimpsed in the shadows before. Something or someone was still active down here. Something that had been waiting, watching, but he could not turn back now. The answers were within reach, and he had come too far to stop. The man moved toward a smaller passage leading from the central chamber. The walls were smoother here, as if recently maintained. Soft lights guided his steps, pulsing with energy that seemed alive. He noticed small pods along the corridor, each containing data or tools. He touched one, and a holographic figure appeared. A human speaking urgently. If you have reached this point, you are close. Humanity's choice to leave the surface was not without reason. Some remnants remained, but others have adapted. Be vigilant. The world beneath the ruins has evolved. The warning made him pause. He realized that while humanity had tried to preserve life, the underground world had not remained static. Machines and creatures had adapted. Perhaps they were friendly, perhaps dangerous. He had to be careful, but his curiosity was stronger than fear. He followed the path until he reached a chamber filled with rows of pods. Inside each pod was a form, preserved in stasis. Humans, or beings that once were human, floated silently, their faces calm, their eyes closed. He walked slowly among them, marveling at the sight. Humanity had tried to survive, to extend life through technology, to preserve themselves for the future. A soft noise drew his attention. From the far corner, a pod shimmered and opened. A figure stepped out, A humanoid, tall and graceful, with eyes glowing faintly. It regarded him silently, tilting its head as if studying him. The man froze, unsure if it would attack or speak. Then in a calm, melodic voice, the being spoke. "You are the awakened. You have seen what has been preserved. But knowledge alone is not enough. You must understand the choice humanity made." The man nodded slowly. He had questions, so many questions, but he waited, sensing that answers would come in time. The being continued. "Long ago, humans foresaw that the surface world would become dangerous. They feared extinction and acted to survive. Many left for other planets, and others remained underground, evolving with the environment. Not all who stayed survived unchanged. The world beneath has adapted to their absence." He felt a chill run through him. The underground world was alive in ways he had not imagined. Machines, creatures, even the environment had evolved. Humanity had vanished from the surface, but its legacy lived on in forms both familiar and strange. The being gestured toward a large archway. Beyond it lay another chamber, darker and more complex than any he had seen. The air was warmer here, charged with energy. Panels flickered with data streams, and machines hummed with power. He understood instinctively that this was the heart of the underground network, the central hub where humanity's last plans had been enacted. As he entered, the ground trembled slightly. Shadows moved among the machines, too fast to identify. He felt a sense of being observed, as if the chamber itself was alive, aware of his presence. The being beside him said softly, "Not all that remains is safe. Some adaptations are hostile. Some are protective. Learn to read them and you may survive." He stepped forward carefully, touching one of the glowing panels. Images flashed before his eyes. Humans working with machines, creatures evolving, cities being abandoned. He realized the scale of what humanity had left behind. Their disappearance was not the end. It was a transition, a survival plan that spanned generations and millennia. Suddenly, a loud rumble shook the chamber. Machines flickered violently, and a distant roar echoed through the tunnels. The being stepped back, its eyes glowing brighter. The man realized that something had awakened, something that had waited silently beneath the ruins for centuries. He felt a surge of fear, but also determination. He could not stop now. Following the being's guidance, he navigated the complex chamber, avoiding moving machinery and strange creatures that scuttled in the shadows. Every step brought him closer to the center, where a large platform pulsed with energy. On the platform was a console covered in symbols he could now partially understand. It was the source of the chamber's power, the core of the underground network. As he reached the console, the being spoke. "Here lies humanity's choice. What you see will determine your path. Knowledge is power, but it is also a responsibility. Use it wisely." The man touched the console. Instantly, streams of information flooded his mind. He saw humans leaving the surface, adapting to underground life, creating machines to sustain themselves. He saw experiments designed to preserve consciousness, tools to navigate new worlds, and warnings of dangers that had grown in their absence. The scale of humanity's foresight was staggering. And then he saw the surface again, the abandoned city above, silent and still. He realized that while humanity had vanished, the world itself had not stopped. Nature had reclaimed the ruins, creatures had adapted, and the underground network had grown into something alive, something aware. He was standing at the intersection of past and future, the key to understanding what had happened and what might still exist. The being beside him said softly, "You have seen enough to understand. But the journey is not over. You must go further beyond this place into the unknown. Only there will you discover the truth of humanity and the world they left behind." The man nodded, feeling a mixture of awe, fear, and excitement. He knew that the secrets beneath the ruins were vast and dangers were many, but he was determined to uncover them. Humanity's story was not finished, and now he was a part of it. As he prepared to leave the chamber, he glanced back at the pods and machines. The underground world was alive, full of mysteries and guardians, and yet it waited patiently for him. He understood that every step forward would reveal more, that every discovery would bring him closer to the truth. With a deep breath, he stepped into the corridor leading further beneath the city. The glow from the machines guided his path, illuminating symbols and messages left by humans long gone. He moved with care but with resolve. The world above was silent, but the world below was awake, and he was now part of it. Somewhere ahead lay the heart of humanity's legacy, hidden for 15,000 years, waiting for someone to understand it, and he would not stop until he had. The man moved deeper into the underground network, guided by the glowing symbols and the soft hum of machinery. Each step took him farther from the surface world he had once known, into a place alive with energy and secrets. The warnings he had received echoed in his mind. Some things beneath the city were not safe, some were protective, and some awaited discovery. The corridor opened into a massive chamber, larger than any he had seen before. Towers of machines stretched toward the ceiling. Cables connected to glowing conduits and streams of data flowed like rivers through the room. At the center, a platform rose slightly above the floor. On it rested a pedestal with a transparent sphere, softly pulsating with light. He felt its power even from a distance, a power that had waited millennia. The being that had guided him so far appeared beside him. Its eyes glowed faintly, observing him with calm assurance. "This is the core," the being said, "the heart of humanity's legacy. What you learn here will reveal the choices humans made and the future that might still exist. But be cautious. Not all answers are without consequence." The man approached the pedestal. As he touched the sphere, a flood of information poured into his mind. He saw humanity in their final days on the surface, their fear, their hope, and their determination. Cities were abandoned not because of destruction, but because humans had chosen survival over stagnation. They had built tunnels, machines, and devices to preserve knowledge, life, and consciousness. The sphere showed colonies beyond Earth, fast floating cities, ships traveling between worlds, and isolated settlements on distant planets. Some humans had transformed themselves, adapting to life beyond the planet's surface. Others remained underground, merging with machines, their bodies and minds altered to survive the underground world. The man realized humanity had not truly vanished. They had changed, evolved, and continued in ways unimaginable. Suddenly, the sphere pulsed violently, and a vision filled the chamber. Shadows moved among the machines, and strange creatures, some mechanical, some alive, appeared. They were guardians of the legacy, designed to protect humanity's knowledge and survive without them. Some were hostile, reacting to intruders. The man understood that while humanity had planned for survival, the world beneath the ruins had adapted, creating dangers for anyone unprepared. The being beside him spoke. "The world below has its own life now. Humanity left a path, but it is not unchallenged. Only those who understand and respect what remains may survive." The man's heart raced. He had seen warnings, creatures, and machines before, but now he faced the full truth. The underground world was alive, aware, and testing him. He could not rely on knowledge alone. He needed courage, strategy, and insight. A doorway opened in the chamber, revealing another corridor lined with symbols and small pods. The man approached, studying the markings. They guided him forward, deeper into the network. He realized that humanity had left trails, tests, and instructions, not just for him, but for anyone who might awaken in the future. They had hoped someone would continue their story, uncover their legacy, and perhaps connect the world above with the world below once more. At the end of the corridor, he reached a second chamber. Unlike the first, it was dim and quiet, filled with large crystalline structures that pulsed with faint light. He stepped closer and saw images reflected inside the crystals, humans of the past, present, and distant future. Some were explorers, scientists, and children. Others were transformed beings, merging with machines, adapting to survive. The images conveyed both triumph and loss, courage and sacrifice. He realized that humanity had not simply vanished. They had evolved in ways that left traces of their existence scattered across time and space. Their story was one of resilience, intelligence, and foresight, and now he was part of that story. As he examined the crystals, a soft voice echoed in the chamber, not from a machine, not from the being, but from the sphere itself. "Awakened one, the world above is silent, but life continues. Humanity endures in ways you may not yet understand. The choice is yours. Return to the surface with knowledge or explore deeper, where answers await but dangers grow." The man considered the words. He had already seen wonders and dangers, machines alive with purpose, guardians moving silently, and records of humans beyond imagination. The surface was silent, but he now understood it was not empty. Nature had reclaimed it, life had adapted, and the city he had wandered was only a small part of a much larger story. He chose to go deeper. Guided by the light of the crystals and the symbols along the walls, he followed the path to another chamber. Here, the air vibrated with energy. The machines thrummed with power, and the glow from conduits illuminated strange inscriptions. The being remained beside him, silent, letting him proceed. At the chamber's center was a large console. Holograms appeared, showing humans interacting with machines, traveling across planets and leaving instructions for future generations. He realized this was humanity's final archive, the culmination of all their knowledge and foresight. He touched the console and a message appeared, addressed directly to him. To the one who awakens, humanity has chosen survival, evolution, and adaptation. The surface was abandoned, but life endures. Learn, remember, and carry the knowledge forward. You are now a witness to our legacy. Share it wisely. The man felt awe, responsibility, and a deep sense of connection. He had begun this journey alone, confused and afraid. Now he understood the scope of what had happened. Humanity had not disappeared, they had transformed, leaving behind a world that waited patiently for someone to understand. A faint tremor shook the chamber, a reminder that the underground world was alive and unpredictable. Machines shifted, crystals pulsed, and shadows moved in corners. He understood that while humanity had planned carefully, the world beneath the surface had grown independent, a living system of its own. He would need wisdom and courage to navigate it fully. With one last look at the holograms, the man turned back toward the tunnels leading upward. The surface awaited him, silent but alive in its own way. He realized that he carried more than knowledge. He carried the story of humanity, the proof that intelligence, courage, and determination could endure even across 15,000 years. He emerged from the underground into the evening light. The city above was calm, empty, but beautiful in its own way. Trees stretched across roads, birds circled above, and shadows of the past stretched long across broken buildings. He breathed deeply, feeling the weight of centuries lift from him. Humanity had vanished from sight, but he had seen the truth. They had endured, adapted, and survived in ways beyond imagination. For the first time, he felt hope. The surface world, silent though it was, held possibilities. Nature, machines, and human legacy were intertwined. He could walk the streets, explore the ruins, and begin connecting the past with the present. He was no longer just an observer. He was part of a story that spanned millennia. As the sun set, painting the sky in warm colors, he realized that his journey had only begun. Secrets remained, dangers lingered, and discoveries awaited. But he was ready. Humanity's vanished world had left him a path, and he would follow it, learning, exploring, and preserving the legacy of those who had once walked the surface. The stars began to shine, distant and clear. Somewhere out there, humans still survived, transformed and evolved. And somewhere, in the ruins of the city he had first awoken to, life pulsed quietly, waiting for the day it would rise again. He walked forward into the city, not afraid, not alone. He carried knowledge, hope, and the story of 15,000 years of human ingenuity. The world had changed. Humanity had vanished from sight, but its spirit endured, and he would ensure it never was forgotten.